We've already studied many different abilities of animals. We saw ducklings climbing the walls, lizards squirting blood from their eyes, birds setting fields on fire, mountain goats ignoring the laws of physics and climbing in areas where it's simply impossible to climb. Wait, what? Steve says they seem to be abusing their abilities. Mountain goats and sheep can climb to an incredible height. But when you find a goat stuck on a power line, I don't know how it ended up there. Did it decide to put its agility to the test and go for a wire walk? Or climb a tree and accidentally fall down? The goat doesn't seem to be happy with the resulting situation, but taking it down is damn hard. Seems like the goats have no clue how ladders work, and I wouldn't be surprised if the goat climbed right back in after being rescued because, well, it just needs to be there. Or perhaps, run away now, you're free! Just when it starts to look like getting stuck in the wires is the worst thing that could happen to goats because of their abilities, a bridge comes into play. The bridge where, in some unfathomable way, two goats ended up. And the longer I look at it, the less I understand. How did it happen? And most importantly, why? Then, of course, people came to the rescue again, and we had another happy ending. Wait, did I say goats don't know how ladders work? I take it back. This goat has no problem with a ladder. It uses it for the intended purpose, eating leaves of an otherwise unreachable tree, looking like it was the one that put it there. By the way, since we're talking about ungulates, I have something interesting for you. Check out this guy. Oryxes are relatives of antelopes that live in Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. Like many other animals, oryxes are certainly bothered by insects. You can't repel them with long horns, though you can certainly leash them. This photo was taken at the Central Kalahari Game Reserve in Botswana. One of the tourists, Jess Eisden, saw an unusual oryx and was very surprised because he had a web wrapped around his horns. I know what you're thinking. The animal's head was in some bushes and the web stuck to the horns. But this web looks very tight, as if it was woven on the oryx's head for a specific purpose. Spiders ran along it, and it seems like they came up with a brilliant solution. The antelope was not bothered by the neighbors. It kept eating grass, and the spiders apparently caught a huge amount of prey. Have you seen how many flies usually swarm near ungulates? Yeah, that's a real lunch buffet. No, really, if I were a spider, I'd always do that. Ants can't use large animals to catch prey, but they are smart enough to understand how physics works. See that millipede? The ants wouldn't be able to carry it if they had just gathered around. They wouldn't have enough space. And then the smart insects went one step further. They formed chains, clung to each other, and seems like this is how they portray the construction of pyramids and all sorts of ancient ships. This technique really works. Moreover, while the ant teams pull the prey, some of them help on the sides and behind. Teamwork and all that. Good thing mosquitoes don't do anything like that. I wouldn't want to be attacked by an organized group of bloodsuckers. I can't stand them. They buzz and bite and your skin itches everywhere. They seem so greedy that they'll drink blood until they burst. You've probably seen these videos, and the insects really burst because they drank too much. There's one thing though. Thirst for blood has nothing to do with it. And even if you tense your muscle during the bite or stretch the skin, the insect won't burst. Dr. Perrin Ross claims that the ventral nerve cord is the reason for exploding insects. If you damage it, the mosquito's lust for blood will never be quenched. Mosquitoes subjected to this procedure can drink up to 4 times their weight and burst. However, let's look at the larger creatures, because they also have special talents. Wolf. A wolf climbing a fence. It sticks its paws into the holes and keeps climbing. Wolf! Damn, it really climbed over the fence. Did anyone tell this guy he's not a squirrel? Thanks to their skills, wolves break through fences and attack farms. Fences? What fences? They simply can't stop predators when the prey is very close, but the coyotes are the ones who really upgraded this skill. They're related to wolves and know everything about climbing. Most coyotes easily climb regular fences if they have enough motivation. That is, when there is something delicious behind the fence, they'll climb the obstacle of any height. And if it doesn't work out, they'll dig. And then they feast on the farm animals. Actually, most researchers believe wolves can't even climb trees because their legs simply aren't adapted for this. That's true only if we compare the abilities of wolves and cats, because if a wolf needs something like a bird's nest, it's quite capable of climbing the lower branches of the tree, as long as there are enough of them and the tree's not too tall. or if it's bent enough. You'll find a bunch of these photos on the web, and the wolves look like the regular ones. Well, coyotes will gladly climb a tree even for some berries. These guys aren't picky at all. To do something about the predators that ignore regular fences, people have to come up with special ones. At first glance, there's no difference, until you look at the top of the fence, because it's rolling. Nothing complicated, but this device stops coyotes from latching on with their front paws and climbing over the fence. Why, even cats can't do it, or even the birds. Not to mention dogs who love climbing over the fence and going for a walk around the area without an owner. Sorry, buddy, today's just not your day. However, I think that sooner or later, the birds will find a way to deal with such fences. Maybe they'll learn how to keep balance on them, simply because some birds are pretty damn smart. And I'm talking primarily about crows. Their intellect is so advanced, they learn to use people to get food. And it's not about stealing your breakfast from your plate or anything like that. Japanese crows can't crack open a nutshell, and so they throw nuts on the road so that some car drives over them. The shell is definitely not strong enough to stay intact after that. Well, it's quite difficult to pick up the treat after that. Because there's still traffic, some crows have found a way out. They drop nuts exactly at the pedestrian crossing and pick them up when people appear on the road. Although, the fact that crows have advanced intellect won't surprise anyone. Even if one day they pick up sticks and decide to take over the world, scientists will probably only shrug their shoulders. Swans are a completely different matter. You don't expect anything special from them, while these birds know exactly how icebreakers work. When the temperature suddenly drops, the swans who spend a lot of time in the water are often trapped, and then they begin to break through the ice, lining up in a chain. The first bird, usually a male, breaks the ice, the rest follow him, widening the passage. What does it look like the male does all the hard work? Well, other birds are always ready to push him if he gets tired, or if he starts regretting that he turned out to be so smart, because this guy is clearly having a hard time. This parrot definitely regrets being so smart. During a police raid in northern Brazil, law enforcement officers suddenly saw a bird that, upon seeing them, began to make noise. Not some indistinct sounds, though. The parrot squawked, "Mama, police!" However, the efforts of the bird did not help. The police still detained the owners for dealing in illegal substances. The parrot was also arrested, but he refused to cooperate with the authorities. Well, he didn't say a word to anyone else. Another incredibly cool ability of birds, which I would put right after their intelligence, is the ability to accurately choose a route during migration. Even overcoming thousands of miles, the birds don't lose their way. Well, in most cases. In 1967, a lone albatross named Albert got lost and suddenly ended up in the northern hemisphere instead of the southern hemisphere. That is, in Scotland. To give you an idea how far it is from the usual habitat of these birds, just look at the map. It's unclear why Albert got lost, but he didn't even try to find his way home. Instead, for at least 40 years, the albatross was hanging out in Scotland and even tried to find love among gannets. Unfortunately, they were in different weight categories, and Albert remained a bachelor. To be honest, I didn't find any recent updates about Albert, but in 2007 he was about 47 years old, and albatrosses live to at least 70. The bird's probably still alive. In addition, in 2016, another albatross of the same species was noticed in East Yorkshire. He also got lost during migration. Maybe Albert isn't alone anymore, though being unable to leave offspring isn't the worst thing that can happen when special skills get out of hand. I've already talked about gastroliths, stones that animals swallow to help digest food or to dive. Scientists believe crocodiles eat stones for this very reason. Quite a clever trick, especially considering that these predators need to dive in order to pull prey to the bottom, but sometimes even a life hack that's worked for millions of years can be deadly. When MJ the crocodile died at the crocodile farm, the vets performed an autopsy and found rocks in the reptile's stomach, along with a surgical plate. The most common surgical plate used to heal bones in humans. But there is no staff on the crocodile farm, and even more so, no one went missing. No one knows how the plate ended up in MJ's stomach, but 6 months before his death, he stopped eating. Maybe one day this crocodile swallowed a plate along with stones, and that was the reason why he died? This is not as absurd as it might seem, especially when you consider the fact that a crocodile once drowned because he was afraid to get out of the water. Yeah, the crocodile drowned. This weird story happened in 2021 in China on a crocodile farm. According to the owner, the predator, whose weight reached 220 pounds, was very timid and afraid of everything. I don't know how you can be afraid of anything when you're a huge crocodile. Anyway, he dived into the water and refused to get out even when he ran out of oxygen. So it was his own ability that killed him? Well, something like that. Or perhaps he had a runny nose. But Steve hasn't found proof of that theory yet. See you later.